I'm very honored to be here, invited by the Specialty Food Association. I'm going to chat about key insights that I learned through the last 6 years in the industry. So a light topic that works for anyone in the supply chain, retailers, distributors, brands. And there was already a good introduction of who I am, but just in a nutshell, so you understand from which lens I'm looking at things. I was in investment banking for 10 years on the capital market side, very different from where I am today. I was not happy in my job. I did a 180 turn and became an entrepreneur and joined two friends as an operator, and we created a juice company called Love Grace, making HPP, cold pressed juices and beverages, which then turned into becoming a co-packer. And I can tell you many stories of how that happened. In the moment where we decided to turn around the business and drop the brand and make product for other people, I stepped out and became passive partner and decided to create Step 2 Advisors. Basically, we made so many mistakes that I thought I had to help other fellow entrepreneurs with the key learnings. So I'm currently an early stage startup advisor and help brands from pre-revenue to 5 million to maneuver all the financial difficulties and intricacies of running a business. 2 years ago today at the Fancy Food Show, I met Eric Schnell, who became a mentor of mine, founder of Stee's Iced Tea, co-founder of Good Catch, and also founder of Beyond Brands, which is a larger agency. And I was able to become a partner of his business last year and his CFO. So it allowed me to understand a lot more about our industry, marketing, packaging, manufacturing, not just finance. And finally, with a handful of people, Veronica is here as well in the room, at Beyond Brands, we did a joint venture last year with SKU Austin, which is an accelerator, down in Texas, 7 years old. And we took their concept, partnered with them, and created Beyond SKU. So I'm touching a little bit of different things, and I just wanted to reinforce this so you understand a little bit about my background. Some of the companies I've worked with is also quite important because I was able to touch different categories. So I see frozen, I see beverage. I see also companies doing better things in packaging, like Nuno's Creamery that does a Greek yogurt in a glass jar, or Petit Pot here in San Francisco created a French dessert in a glass jar as well. So trying to bring better packaging in the dairy aisle. Two brands that launched this week, Cool Beans and Mood 33 at the Fancy Food Show. Cool Beans would be a whole foods plant-based frozen wrap company. Mood 33, a hemp-infused herbal tea. So really just a little bit of everything. So let's get started, and I will share the number one insight that I want to talk about. Consumer trends have been around forever, and I think in the past, and as I was growing up, those trends didn't mean anything. People were just throwing things and hitting headlines in the press, but there was not an actual learning from them, and you never knew if one was going to last for a year or 10. Today, it's not a gimmick. It's actually backed by data, because between social media, between analytics, the consumer, we can actually monitor exactly what he's doing, what he's looking at, how his purchasing behavior is. And so because clients are everything in our industry, we can pay attention to what sticks, and that's the key learning. So whether you're a brand and you're thinking of entering at a category, or whether you are a retailer or distributor trying to find what's the next big thing, you can actually find evidence of what's working. Just some examples here, like e-retail, which was nothing a few years ago, and now every brick and mortar retailer has a huge part of their revenue coming from direct-to-consumer online purchases. Frozen was a big no-no because all the products were bad. Now frozen is the new fresh. And then the plant-based movement, obviously. There's a lot of trends out there, and there are people more informed than me to actually share those trends with you, like Whole Foods or like the Specialty Food Association. But there's three that I really like to share with you that I think are going to last a long time. One that was named by Whole Foods in their 2020 trend is purchases that empower consumers. I personally and selfishly like to buy something knowing that it's going to do something good. Directly or indirectly. And so there are a lot more brands today that are actually offering to do well, whether it's for the environment or to empower families with low income, etc. And so I think this is something that's going to stay. I'll give a few examples in a minute. The alcohol-free trend I didn't believe in it a few years ago, and then I saw evidence and data that you can replicate incredibly good handcrafted beers but have 0% alcohol, or you can even do distilled spirits like gin and vodka with also 0%. Now in New York you have bars that actually don't serve alcohol, so I think this is going to trend for many, many years to come. And the last one, which is a huge category, but everything sustainability driven, and the Specialty Food Association actually named that one of their top trends, everything around upcycling, regenerative agriculture. These are words that you hear every day, but there's things that are a little bit dangerous when just jumping into those trends, and I'm going to talk about it in the next slide. But I think it's really important to have brands that are actually doing well and doing good for the planet. A few examples that you guys probably are familiar with. On the e-retailer side, I could not believe that just even 2 or 3 years ago, shopping online was not a thing. And today I can buy, and I actually buy my groceries on my phone, and they're delivered an hour or 2 hours later. And that is going to become mainstream, not just in the US, but in the world, in my opinion. And companies like Fresh Direct in New York or Good Eggs here in the Bay Area, after some heavy investment in logistics, are doing an excellent job. Thrive is going, in my opinion, another level, because not only they offer great products online, but they actually do a due diligence of all the products that they sell. They want to know where they're coming from, the origin and the supply chain of those products themselves. So there's different levels of how far you can go. Well, just examples of where people shop now, and I think this is becoming extremely mainstream. In the frozen that I was just talking before, there's companies doing a great job bringing products, either vegetables and fruits to kids. Kid Fresh is a great company that does that. Bitnik as well. And on the sustainability factor, I just want to do a segue with my next key insight, which is traceability and trust. If a company tells you that it's giving a percentage of profits to a group or a nonprofit, you just actually don't know where this money is going and what they're doing. But actually you can, because there's tangible evidence if you look on their website, or if you dig a little deeper. Kuli Kuli, the Moringa company, makes bars and other products. They actually planted about 4 million trees since they created their company. So that's a tangible evidence of the good that they're doing. This bar saves lives, has been around for about 6 years. Obviously the mission is in the name, but what are they actually doing? And so consumers can find out that they're actually purchasing this for the good reasons. In essence, they recently helped fight malnutrition in South Africa by purchasing plumpy nut pouches, which are super high dense mixtures for kids that are in the verge of dying, and they saved over 100,000 children so far. Regrain, in a very different example of upcycling, are taking byproducts from breweries and making they're making flour so that they can produce baking products. So just a lot of examples of companies that are here to stay and in trends that, in my opinion, are going to last for a long time. This is a very important topic, in my opinion. Traceability and trust. There are more and more brands than ever. There are more and more co-packers trying to help brands to grow. And so there's shared kitchens everywhere. How can you trace and know that what's coming into your plate or what you're buying on the shelf is actually good for you? And the FDA can only do so much. They really start doing scrutiny when you are much, much bigger. So there's a lot of stuff out there. The consumer has to be extra cautious, and it might gain trust very quickly when, for example, there's a viral movement. You jump on the avocado trend, or you start drinking celery juice, which was the #1 juice last year, but you don't really know what it does either to you or to the planet, the environment. So I think that as a brand, if you know that you're doing something better than other brands in your process, you should absolutely communicate that. I don't think it's done enough. As a retailer and distributor, you have the responsibility to also audit the brands that you're bringing in, whether it's from sourcing their ingredients or what's their exact mission. Because of all the data available, it is possible to do so. And so I think it's something that we should leverage from. How many people in this room have heard that there are markets that are too mature and you shouldn't launch it, or you shouldn't launch a new yogurt, a new potato chip. There's a lot of, you're raising hands over there. There's a lot of people that are telling entrepreneurs that have great ideas that they should not do something just because the market is mature. That's not true. Markets have been mature for decades already. They're just growing and growing. Some are growing faster, some are slowing down. But if you have a different angle, you can actually disrupt, you can gain market share, you can do things better. Just a couple of ideas of how you do that. You do that through product innovation, obviously, that's common sense. But channel strategy, while online was nothing a few years ago, now it's everywhere. But what about food service? Now everybody's trying to start in food service rather than retail to try to get more revenue with less marketing dollars and then go into retail. You also have the military, which is a really big source of revenue for companies that think about that channel. So in my opinion, and the third one, sorry, is convenience, which is my favorite, because let's say, for example, there's a company in Canada called Evive that they make frozen smoothies. There's plenty of smoothies out there. But when you do your smoothie at home, you have to blend, you have to prep, it takes time, and then you have to clean up. They brought the frozen smoothie to you without the blending and without the prep. They just blend it in their production area, they freeze it so it's fresh, no preservatives, and then they deliver little cubes that you just put in a jar. You put almond milk or water, you wait, and you go to work or you go to your workout, you shake, it's ready in 15 minutes. So convenience can be a way to disrupt an industry, and there's just no market that's mature enough. The fourth insight I want to share is one that's obviously where I operate because I have a financial background and I do all financial modeling, investor relation work, board work around and fundraising. So I could talk a few days about this, but just in general, not all dollars are created equal, and I find that everybody thinks investment, they immediately think equity, because it's what's in the news, VCs, private equity, but there are so many different ways to fund your business, and I think the issue is the lack of communication or information about it. Whether it's a loan, whether it's a grant, whether it's drawing equity from your home that you own, or just getting a loan from the bank at the beginning and growing into it, there are plenty of ways to do that. I find that if you are willing to take on capital, you have to think very carefully because that's obviously a marriage that has probably no divorce option. It's really important to know that you're inviting people in your home and they're going to have a word to say at the table on everything you do. So I won't go too much into detail there, but because it's the space that I operate, I find that my clients or startups just lack information. And maybe they lack information because they don't talk about these things too much with their peers. When you're raising money or when you have some sales, you don't want to share too much. You're trying to be a bit overprotective, even though you're fairly small. And I think that's the last thing I want to leave you with about communication, because there has never been more consultants, advisors, and people to help you today than ever before. Talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence win championship. If you don't surround yourself with a team, with a tribe, if you don't talk to people about your problems, you can be the best entrepreneur, you can do great, but you'll never be as successful as if you actually had shared with other people some of your challenges. I actually encourage my clients to allocate about 20-25% of their time every week to go on meetings or calls or coffees with people without the intention of getting something in return necessarily, or without the intention of purchasing a service or doing a transaction, just business development, basically how we call it. And seeking help early is the key, in my opinion, to accelerated growth and success. And so I recommend usually everybody to not wait and do it, because there's so much free knowledge out there that it's really important to just grab it, especially when you're a startup. So I just wanted to share everything with you like that. But after the presentation, we can come and chat a little bit more about all these insights. And thank you very much for your time.